Andrew Berry met with the media today, talked about the challenges of building a deep roster in today's NFL.
The way we consider, I guess, attrition within the roster, it's twofold. It's one, the level of risk that you may have in a certain position group based on, look, every player that you sign or trade for or draft, they don't have the same level of injury risk. Some have maybe a more extended history. Some have been durable for their entire careers. So that's certainly something that we take into account when we build out a position group. And then the second piece of it is, it's why roster building is 365 days a year, because you can never have enough depth. And the groups, we always joke, the groups that you go into the camp and you're like, oh man, we're really deep here, like we're going to either have to release a good player, we're going to have to work a trade. It seems like those are the groups that you get wiped out with, first, that type of thing. So we are very, cognizant of that you can't build enough depth into the roster, but we certainly will die trying.
Yeah, see, tackles last year, Casey, but to his point, that's you look at it and they're deep at a number of spots.
Well, you pointed out earlier, you get your backup center gone for the year, Brian Allen. It changes the complexity of the depth of that particular position group. But he's right. You look at several areas and you think cornerbacks one. Well, you get tested in that right away. Greg Newsome's out. And that's one of the pieces you felt good about them. Considering it very deep. But what the Browns have kind of constructed here is you have several high-end contracts. And when you have so many high-end contracted players, you really need your depth to be players that you've drafted and or signed as unrestricted free agents, because that's how you fill in the depth without kind of breaking yourself financially. That's the reason that when a player becomes available that might be an older player as a vet, and you might not even see a role as a starter, you see fans want to go get that guy. Well, you might not be able to afford that guy if he's not going to be someone playing, serious time on the field. So roster construction is a very critical element, and the Browns don't like to pay for depth, so they need these lower drafted round players, rounds 5, 6, 7, to step up and actually fill roles as depth players. And you've seen that in many instances, but they need to keep that churning on the bottom end of the roster so you can afford the high-end contract. So it's a very complex thing they've built here, but so far they've had no problem keeping it going.
Yeah, and that's how good organizations stay good and have multiple playoff runs, is by you develop players, and they're starting to do that.